Hi Paul, Ellen from Sky Sports News. Fine margins at the bottom of the table. Is this the biggest game of the season so far?
Yeah, because it's the next one, and we were disappointed with how we played with the ball on Saturday against Bournemouth. So yeah, I could have played a game the next day, obviously. So yeah, I want to get out my system. I'm sure the players do. So just for that fact, for us, it's the biggest game. The fact it's Burnley was down there in the rounders, yeah, everyone will be talking about it, and it takes on its own importance.
Ollie McBurney said after the match that him and Anil Ahmedhodzic were miles off it from a fitness point of view. How have they looked in training this week, and is there any fresh injury concerns and team news ahead of the match?
Yeah, no, they benefited from that 45 minutes of played, but yeah, you could see they've been out 6 or 7 weeks. So they've had another week's training, which is good. They've had that game time as well, which is good. So yeah, so they're in a much better place than they were last week. Yeah. No, in terms of injuries, no, everyone, one or two carrying little bits and pieces, but everyone was out there training today.
And obviously that disappointing result last time out, but you had a little bit of momentum before that. Do you feel supported by the fans and the club?
Yeah, it's important that we keep that going, as you said, that momentum. Everyone was asking about the international break and did it come at a good time for us or a bad time for us. There's arguments both ways, but the way I always look at it is it comes at the time that you all know it is, and you have to plan for that and then get the most out of it. So we used it while we had certain boys away. We used it for Anel and Ollie Mack to get a bit more training, and we used it for the other boys who had been carrying bits to have a bit of downtime and get them ready for the Bournemouth game. So yeah, we did what we could. We wanted to keep the momentum going in terms of results, but the good thing is you always get another chance.
And do you feel there's support from the fans and the club at the moment?
Yeah, it's been great. We've had good atmospheres home and away. I think the fans realise the importance that they play in the games, particularly at home. We want to make that a real tough place to come, but we know we have to do our part as well. And as I said, I think it was the first question, we dropped below our standards with the ball. You know, we're continually too sloppy with the ball, turned over too much, allowed Bournemouth to counter too often. But listen, even if we'd have got that right, with the nature of the goals we conceded, the second and third goals, we're not going to win games in this league giving goals away like that.
Thanks for your time.
Cheers. Thanks very much. Paul, any updates on any of the kind of longer term absentees? Anyone getting any closer to returning?
Reece has done some bits with us now, training, which is good, but like I say, we'll be really patient with him, because just day by day we'll gradually increase what he does, and he's on his own programme as such and using us to get what he needs. But what he needs right now is football, and stressing and testing and training, which is what he's getting, so that's good news.
I know, as well as Ollie saying he was kind of miles off it once they got on the pitch, he also said he was disappointed that he didn't start last weekend. Was there ever a chance that he would do? Do you wish he had done?
No, because he wouldn't have. You could see he wouldn't have lasted getting around. But he's been better this week, much better. So yeah, again, he's another one who, while he's been out, your fitness suffers. Of course it does. But he wants to put himself forward all the time and play, and we have to manage that in the week as well when he's training. So if he is playing regular, playing game after game, we have to make sure we keep him on the grass as well in the week, to make sure that, you know, we're looking after him and taking care of those little problems that he has got.
Some of the criticisms that followed the performance last weekend around potentially being a bit too defensive, a bit too passive with the setup, are they fair criticisms?
No, I think what we got wrong was with the ball. I think one thing I'm pretty good at is getting a decent reflection on the game in the moment, and when I look back, and I said after the game, we worked, there was effort there, and that was reflected. It was we ran further than them. It's the highest distance we've covered this season. High intensity stuff was there. The big difference in performance was us with the ball, giving the ball away too loose. They were much better than us with the ball, and the other big difference was their front six and how athletic and quick they were on the break. So the sprint distance they covered was excellent in terms of their front six, and that was a difference. But they've been recruiting that way now for a number of windows to get those types of players, and we said it before, that's the benchmark, that's what we've got to get to. They're talked about as a team who down the bottom end of the Premier League, but we need to get to that, and they've been spending upwards of £200 million in the last 4 windows, while we've been cutting our wage bill in the windows. That's it. That's been the reality of it, and it probably is a good guide and a good benchmark and a good reality check for me and everyone else who works here, because when we took over 2 years ago, we were in the same league. They were second, we were 16th. And the first window again, we had to. Finances dictated. We were saving money. We were letting players go, cutting the budget. They recruited. But within that, we closed the gap on, and we took more points than them in that period of time. Why? Because we worked our socks off on the training ground. We tried to make good decisions and be really bright, and that's how we closed the gap. And we're going to have to continue to do that. But while we had another season of cutting the budget, everyone knows we had the transfer embargo as well. We couldn't recruit. They recruited again in the summer. Then they recruited again in January. Then they recruited again this summer, over 100 million. But that's what we're up against. And like I said, how we've closed that gap, how we've still kept on their coattails, is by the work we've done on the training ground, by using our academy players, and it's something we've done really well. And until we can get to their levels in terms of resources, we'll do it our way, and we're going to have to keep doing it our way.
There were a lot of fans that had left before the end last week. Was that disappointing from your perspective? A lot of the kind of feedback as well was that didn't quite feel the performance was a Sheffield United type of performance with the effort, the kind of all-action stuff that you've seen before.
Yes, but sometimes with the nature of the goals we conceded, it's deflating, deflates everyone, the fans, the staff, the players. But as I said, I knew they were running, I knew the effort was there, and it's been shown in the numbers, so I know that. But when we're giving goals away the way we did, we're not going to be in the game. But the problem was we weren't good enough with the ball. It was clear, it's as simple as that. You watch the game back, you can see it. You can see it. And probably barring Robbo, who was good with the ball, everyone can be better than that.
Is there any pressure from the club on getting a result and a performance this weekend?
From above?
Yeah, from the board, yeah.
No, not. I spoke with Steve. There's been no different conversations. There's pressure from us to do it, because that's what we want to do. We want to win, and that's the same. I've just been saying like the differences in our journeys, us and Bournemouth, but I still expected us to go out and win, regardless of what they've done and what they've spent. And it's the same this weekend. As I said, we do it our way. Burnley have gone out and spent, 15 players in over £100 million. We couldn't. One of them we know well. They took one of our best assets, but that was the position we were in. But like I said, while they were still spending the champ, we kept on their coattails, doing it our way. Hard work on the training pitch, using our academy, and it served us well. And until we can get the level of resources that the other boys have got, that's what we'll continue to do.
Plenty of people have kind of rung up this week suggesting that a change is needed in some way, whether that's yourself or a change of formation or whatever else, whilst also recognising the context that we've all talked about, budget, injuries, difficulties in the transfer market. Have you thought about anything kind of radical? Do you think that there needs to be a change in some way, shape or form?
We've changed virtually every game simply because we've had to. I'd love to get some consistency and start working with the same group of players every week on the training ground. That's what I'd love, and hopefully we'll get to that point. But at the minute, I think one of our problems has been there's been too many enforced changes, whether that's been through selling players to start the season, then recruiting late, then getting injuries when we thought we'd got the squad together, and we need that to settle down.
Will the players that you've now got back available, with the likes of Ollie Mack and Anel coming back and other people that have previously returned from injury, and George and others, allow you to kind of do a little bit more what you might have wanted to do on a week-to-week basis, try and play a little bit more like people have seen previously? Yeah,
and that's what we need. We need everyone. The thing is, what people tend to forget is the opposition as well. I keep saying it. We will try and play our way. We will try and impose ourselves on the game, and we've done it in a number of games. And in those games, there's lots of times we've not won. But I will accept us playing in a certain fashion and our best not being good enough. But we have to get to those levels more often. The problem is you've got a group of top players who are trying to stop you and really impose themselves on the game as well. And that's the big difference in this level. We could get away with maybe the same mistakes we made the other day. last season, you know, and it was a little bit less relevant in terms of resources because it was more of a level playing field, you know. This season it's been a lot different, and we've had occasions where we have been well in the game, even on top in games, and it's been benches that's taken games away from us. So as I said, in terms of that, we cannot worry too much about what the other clubs have got. We just have to be prepared to deliver our best as often as possible so that we're in the game come the end of it and allow ourselves to get over the line with the points.
Do you view this weekend as more of an even contest? You know, we're closer in the league. You've only got one win apiece. You both came up from the Championship last season.
Yeah, in that respect, it is, and it's like Bournemouth last week. In that respect, it is, and we expect to win the games. When we played City at home, we set up trying to win the game, but it's still another game where I'm looking, thinking, their window to our window. You know what I mean? And this is not an excuse. This is just the hand we've been dealt, and to get around that, and for us to be competing with these teams when we've not been recruiting, it's been on the training ground, you know, and. Good luck to Burnley going and spending that money, like I said, taking Sander from us. But we can't hide away from the fact of what a body blow it was and when it was, you know. But, as I said, we're still in the same place as them in the league. So it shows that we're doing things right. It's not all about the money, and we'll continue to think that way. So yeah, we'll set up in a way and approach the game in a fashion that gives us the best chance of winning, without a doubt.
How do you feel Burnley have changed since last season, if they have?
One or two personnel in terms of Vinny and his style. He's still sticking to his principles. Finding it more difficult, obviously it is. It's a more difficult, unforgiving league. But they've still tried to recruit in the same way in terms of the style of player. So I think while there's been slight changes in his shape, he's tried to stick to his principles and play the same way.
Be interesting to come up against Sander again. Clearly you were somebody that you wanted to keep at the club in the summer. How kind of big a miss has he been this season?
Yeah, it's irrelevant. It's pointless spending time when he's not our player, so it doesn't matter. Bigger things, more things for me to worry about, you know. He's gone, good luck to him, you know, great kids, even better, you know, good footballer. Carried himself really, really well here, despite what was said about him. He's a fantastic pro, so, yeah.
In terms of Vincent Kompany, clearly, you know, they are bottom of the league at the minute. Burnley, seems to be a perception in the media that he's been treated a little differently to yourself, maybe given a bit more leeway because of his time as a player and what he achieved in the game. Do you kind of feel you've been treated a bit more differently than Vincent? No,
we're at different clubs, different resources, different jobs. Every job you do, every time you're managing, it's totally different. So no, I'm not. It's too much for me to be worrying about here. To be worrying about how other managers are getting treated.
Just finally, Phil Jagielka retired this week. Clearly an incredible servant to Sheffield United as a club in two different spells. I mean, what can you say about him as a person and what he did for this club and the game?
Oh, listen, Jags is someone who I played against first and foremost and knew that way, and then to start working with him in what were difficult circumstances, I got to see a lot of him and how we became to have the career he had was really evident to me. You know, there's some real key moments where I thought how he acted and how he behaved, you could really showed why he'd played at the top for so long. Tremendous career, and I know he wanted to keep playing as long as he could. But listen, I also know that it's not a rush decision. And he'll be happy with it.
Thanks, Paul. Good luck this weekend.
Hi, Paul. It's quite a big mistake from Wes Foderingham last week. Has he needed special treatment this week? An arm round him. How have you dealt with it?
Wes is pretty relaxed in those instances. He's been ill though as well, so he was ill beginning of the week. Back in today, trained properly today. Yeah. So listen, mistakes happen in football. Outfield players tend to make a lot more than mistakes than keepers, but when a keeper makes them, unfortunately, that's usually the end result. You're conceding a goal.